Hello, my dear INFP community. I'm so happy to be back. It's been about 2 months since my last video, and I've been busy with something. I will share it with you now. Well, okay, I hate to make notes and do research before my videos, and it kills all the fun in my opinion, and I don't like to make myself do something that I don't enjoy. So I will be speaking kind of in the moment about an important realization of mine that I had recently, and this realization is kind of huge, and it has to be shared with the world because it might help someone, it might save lives. Okay, so well, you might have an idea what it's about, this realization, from the how I named the video. INFPs are love addicts. Well, INFPs are most likely to become the victims of love addiction, of this mental illness. That's what I believe, I think, because all the characteristics that we have, intuitive, introverted, feeling, perceiving, right, all these four the letters, or it's kind of an ideal combination for someone to have this kind of personality that becomes like the perfect ground for developing this kind of illness. Of course, there are other factors. I was going to talk about them at the end, but I'm going to say it now. Well, it's if you have a genetic predisposition for a mental illness, like there was someone in your family who struggled with, for example, like schizophrenia or some kind of addictive behavior. Also, so genetic predisposition, and also some kind of trauma from your childhood, for example, that was not resolved and is looking for ways to be healed. And this trauma is a psychological trauma, right? I hope you understand this. Like, and therefore, you could be attracted to people who has the potential to hurt you, and you may not realize it. It's an unconscious choice of yours. So I love this topic, and I think it's huge. I hope I'm able to talk about this topic in a way that you understand. So, love addiction. I actually had no idea that there is such thing as love addiction. I heard about sex addiction, I don't know, porn addiction, of course, like alcohol, drug addiction, different kinds of shopagolism, and I mean, there are different kinds of addictions, eating disorders, but love addiction, I actually had no idea that such thing exists. But actually, it is a thing. It is a mental illness. It is an addiction, and there are different stages of it. And the first stage, it's basically what we all, I guess, all people often experience. This first stage of this love addiction, and it's normalized in most cultures. It's when you, like, for example, after breaking up with someone, you keep thinking about them, keep obsessing about them for a long period of time, and most of the time the person is able to overcome this obsession by themselves, and or with the help of a therapist, or with the help of friends, someone. And it's okay, that's when this addiction kind of stops. But there is also the second and third stage of this love addiction, when it becomes a serious mental illness, just like an alcohol addiction or drug addiction, when first the person stops being able to control themselves, their life becomes just focused on the life of this other person. So, and then the third stage is when the person completely loses touch with the reality, and at this stage, there is no way to treat this person, because basically this person becomes a crazy person, and they are usually admitted to a hospital. So there is this movie that portrays this love addiction very well. It's called The Story of Adele Hugo. Adele Hugo was the daughter of Victor Hugo, a famous French writer. And at the age of 26 years old, she fell in love with a man. And even though she was a very, very attractive woman, she was adored by many men, she had no trouble with with finding the man to become married to. She was from a great family. She was financially successful, everything. She was beautiful and she was nice. So everything was okay there, but she somehow chose this unavailable man who rejected her. And because no one was able to understand what was happening with her, that her condition was becoming more serious, nobody made a step to help her. But how the story ends, and why we all know about this case, and that's actually how this is one of the forms that love addiction can take. It's called the syndrome of Adele Hugo, because she ended up in a mental hospital. She spent her last 40 years of her life, from the age of 40 to 85. She died in a mental institution, and until her last day, she was speaking to her lover while she was sleeping. She had nightmares. Although she completely lost touch with the reality, and she was not able to even recognize her lover anymore. Even when she saw him physically, she did not understand that it was him. She became a completely insane person, and even though her family had money and loved her deeply, they were not able to help her, because unfortunately all the factors that make someone prone to developing the illness were there. There was a genetic predisposition because her uncle was a schizophrenic. There was a trauma from her childhood. At the age of 13, her sister died, and the whole family could not grieved. They grieved for a long time, for about 7 years. For example, the father did not write a single story. There was an atmosphere of grief and depression in her family for many years, and she was of course, when there is such thing as a death of your child, of course you you have to deal with the grief, and you abandon perhaps your other children when basically they need you a lot during this time, but you abandon them. So Adele found a way to heal, but she was not able to heal this trauma, of course. But and this is my interpretation, that when she was 26, she unconsciously brought this experience onto herself. Yeah. And also, yes, genetic predisposition, unresolved trauma, and her personality. She was a very sensitive, intellectual girl who was introverted, who spent all her time by herself, writing in her diary, fantasizing about different things, communicating with her dead sister during the spiritual sessions. She was not spending a lot of time with others. She was very idealistic, and she believed in great ideas, and she was very she was noble, and she was very forgiving of others, and therefore accepting of their behavior, even though this behavior was hurtful to her. So yes, if you are interested, I could talk about this movie for longer, but if you're interested to see this movie, it's called The Story of Adele Hugo. It's a French movie, great movie. So, love addiction, right? So INFPs are prone to this because we're introverted, we don't spend a lot of time with others, and for example, of course not all INFPs are prone to this. It's only those INFPs, as I said, who have other factors that could contribute to developing this. But when it comes to the personality characteristics, we're like the best fit for developing this kind of behavior, because we're introverted, we make all our decisions based on our feelings, we are very understanding and forgiving, and we sometimes mix that up with being accepting of other people's behavior. And we really, I believe that to make ourselves stronger and protect ourselves from the harm that other people and relationships can do to us, we have to develop logic, work on our logical side, and also we have to become very good at following our intuition, because we have great intuition, but we don't always follow it. And there could be reasons for that as well, but that's not the topic of today's video. And so we have to become really great. We have to train ourselves at following our intuition and listening to our feelings. Yes, we have a lot of feelings, and we are great at maybe kind of living life through our feelings, but we don't always listen to them. Like when they scream, for example, that some kind of experience is hurting us, we tend to ignore it because our idealistic self wants to follow some kind of idea of this. For example, when it comes to love, the idea of all forgiving love, or the idea of a very noble love that sees through another person's bad intentions and sees the best version of another person and wants to heal that person, help that person. So yeah, and yeah, so let's this be the start of this topic. I think that's enough for one video. Tell me what you think about it, whether I might be wrong in some aspects, or I might not be seeing something the right way, because I really want to understand this. Yeah, so thank you for watching.